All right. Hello out there, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Monday. And even if you didn't, the good news is that Monday is now basically over.
Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah. So here we are. Welcome to our very first YouTube Live with Equestrian Performance Coaching. And I think we've got a fun time planned here.
Bear with us. This is our
Yeah.
first time doing anything live. I think. Well, we did live. We did some live lectures,
We did some
but it's
Facebook
been
Live.
like 2 years, so we're out of
Yeah.
practice. We'll get better as we go, but
Yeah.
we're just going to keep this really casual and fun. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely make this interactive. Yeah. So basically, like Jenna said, we're gonna keep this pretty laid back here. Just want to talk a little bit about why we're here, what our programs are, why coaching, and why coaching basically. And then we want to open it up for questions. So you can pretty much ask us anything, whether it's about the programs, whether it's about any sort of issues you're having, anything that you want to learn about.
Yep.
So we are here for you tonight. All right. So yeah, like I said, why are we here tonight? Well, first, most of you that are tuning in, I'm sure know us, but we'd still like to give a little bit about our background and so you get to learn about a little bit more about us in depth, and then also talk about our programs, of course, and then finally, like I said, we're going to field a bunch of questions. All right. So first of all, I guess we'll just introduce ourselves. I'm Martin.
I'm Jenna.
And yeah, we are, of course, now starting a new venture, Equestrian Performance Coaching. So a little bit about our background. Of course, we're both dressage trainers. We've been doing this, about 25 years combined? Something like that.
My first year as a professional was 2008. So 11 years as a professional.
Okay. And then I was about 2000. Yeah, I'd say 2005 or so was when I first, about 2005 was when I took my first student. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's going on 14 years. So right about 25 years combined.
Cool.
Wow.
Quarter
of a century.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, so we're both USDF gold medalists. We have a major passion for dressage, obviously. We have our own business in the Austin area, teaching and riding. And yeah, we just really love what we're doing, and we want to share that passion with everybody out there. So that kind of brings us to the next question. Why are we doing the equestrian performance coaching? So if we've got this business that we're running already with lessons and training horses and all that, well, why are we going into coaching? Well, I know personally I've been working with a coach for a little over a year now, and I know how important it's been for me in my development. I feel like over the last year alone, I've grown so much as a person, not only in the saddle, but out of the saddle as well. And for those of you that don't know, last year I was working towards my gold medal, which is extremely difficult. That Grand Prix test, as Jenna can attest, is just brutal. And it's not only, well, it's physically demanding trying to get through the Grand Prix, but honestly, the hardest part of the whole deal was mentally and emotionally getting through it. And for me, having a coach was so huge. And so for me, I know how important that is, and I want to share that with everybody else out there. And I want to be able to share our experiences. So in our combined 25 years of experience training horses, we've been through a lot of ups and downs. We've been through all the peaks and valleys that you can go through with the training process, working with your horses, going from starting horses, baby horses, all the way up to the Grand Prix. So we've experienced a ton, and we want to be able to use our experience to help everybody else out there. And I think it's so valuable. Obviously, you need riding lessons, you need coaching in the arena, but to get that coaching outside of the arena is just as valuable as well. And so we want to start to add that dynamic to what we're bringing. And again, for us, it's just helping as many people as possible, spreading the passion for classical dressage. And that's really what we're all about. So that's why we are starting this new venture with the Equestrian Performance Coaching. So I guess the next logical step is to talk a little bit now about our program. So what exactly are we offering? Well, we've got three different programs right now that we're offering. The first is the group coaching program. So the group coaching program, really what that's about is creating a community and a big community for support. So with the group coaching, what are some of the things that you're going to be getting? Well, first of all, we'll have a monthly YouTube live, just like this, where you can tune in. You can ask any questions, and it's a chance for me to check in with everybody and see how everything's going. We'll also do one time per month a conference call, which will be with everybody that's doing the group coaching. And again, that's another chance to ask questions in a way more and direct, obviously, through the phone call. So we'll do a conference call each month. Also, what we'll do is we'll accept video submissions. So 5-minute video submission of your riding, and then we'll analyze that, look it over, and then we'll, of course, offer feedback based on what we're seeing on the video. And then we'll also have a weekly email that has training tips, or it could be either training tips in the arena, it could be anything like how to deal with frustration, the mental side, the emotional side of riding. So that's our group coaching program. So that's our first program. We'll also be doing one-on-one coaching as well. And we already have in our barn a couple of clients who are doing the one-on-one coaching, and had some really good success with that. And of course, that'll be more one-on-one attention. You also get the emails, get email access to us. But for those that want more individualized coaching, we will have the one-on-one option as well. And then lastly, another thing that we'll be offering are clinics. So eventually we'll want to be traveling around and co-teaching clinics, Jenna and I. And the clinics will be not just like your traditional riding clinic where, you come in, you ride your horse, you do your 2 45-minute lessons in a weekend, and then you head home. We'll have a lecture. We'll have, of course, also riding in the arena, so instruction in the arena. But then we'll also have coaching sessions as well and talking strategy off of the horse. So, and in addition, the great thing will be that we'll be co-teaching that. So you're going to get both of our perspectives and both of our ideas and eyes on you.
And we're still trying to figure out a date on that. We have pretty busy next couple of months with competitions, but we are working on getting a date for a clinic out at our barn, Concordia Dressage near Austin. And I think we really started this coaching program as something that would have really benefited us as young professionals. So that's our reason for starting this. This is something that we really wanted to develop as something that, can benefit young professionals, also amateur riders, people maybe without a trainer. Yeah, kind of like that. So I'm going to go off the camera for a minute, work on something technical, and I'll be right back.
All right. So yeah, I think getting back to why we're doing this again, I think one of the big reasons so that we can reach more and more people. Obviously, teaching in the barn, or even for myself, flying around to do clinics is really great. But now with the internet and all the technology we have, it's an opportunity to reach people worldwide. And so that's, as I've said before, something that we're really, really passionate about, is helping as many people in their journey as possible. And that's really what dressage is. As Charles de Kunfi says, riding is a metaphor for life. And so if you really approach your riding journey in the right way, not only do you develop as a rider and as an equestrian, but it helps you develop as a person. And so we're here to help you in that journey. And like Jenna said, this program's for everybody and anybody. Professionals, aspiring professionals, young professionals are just starting out, amateur riders, can be junior riders, anybody. Anybody can use a coach. So yeah, we're super excited about this.
Well, and I think also you'll have ongoing support to both of us.
Yeah.
I'm getting an echo. Hold on just a second.
Uh-oh. More technical difficulties. Hey, this is what happens when you go live, right? This is great. No rehearsal, just going live, getting it done. Yeah, so I think for us, those are the three main programs, like I talked about, the group, the one-on-one, and the clinics. And then I'm sure as this enterprise develops, we'll come up with more and more programs. but the clinics we're really, really excited about too, as Jenna was saying. And hard to believe that we're actually busy now. We're so busy. It's
we're
like
getting all this
every
technical
weekend.
figured out.
Yes.
Sorry. This
Yes.
is our first time doing this. YouTube's a whole lot more complicated than Facebook. So
Yeah.
we're just working out the kinks. We're going to have this smooth sailing in no time.
Exactly. But at least we're entertaining you right now, correct?
Absolutely,
So
right?
you can't say we're not entertaining. So anyways, I think that's a pretty good recap of who we are, why we're doing this, what some of our programs are.
Well, and I think too, we have like 30 horses in training in our barn. You know, like Martin said, we've been training together for, I don't even know how many years. So we've experienced every different emotional struggle you could possibly imagine, from show nerves to self-doubt, limiting beliefs, body image, everything you could think of. Seriously, we have experienced it. And then also because of our experience with the horses we've had in training, we've dealt with different breeds. We've ridden thoroughbreds and gypsy vanners and quarter horses and Andalusians and warm bloods, different temperaments, mares, geldings, stallions, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of knowledge that we are so willing to and excited to share with you all. And so this program, you know, it's not just even about coaching through some of the mental struggles, which, you know, that's a big part of the program, but it can also be just helping you with training. So if you're really struggling with, you know, you're on your own and you don't have access to a trainer all the time, and you know, you're just working one-on-one with your horse, we will be here for you to answer questions and for you to send us that 5-minute video every single month so we can help you with your progress and we can help you develop a plan specifically for your horse. And so I think it's, you know, there's a whole lot of information that we're really excited to share with you guys. And then I think you mentioned the weekly emails too.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be giving out weekly emails that have training tips.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the group coaching sessions, you can ask any question you want. So it can be a question about a mental or emotional struggle you may be going through, or it may be something that, you know, your horse is really struggling with the flying changes or with picking up the canter, or you're struggling with your sitting trot. Whatever your question is, whatever your struggle is, we're so excited. We are going to be here to help you through that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great point of this program. It's not just about like mental or emotional struggles in the saddle. It can be, any sort of issue that you're having, whether it's, you know, how to get a flying change or something like that. And like Jenna said, I think especially if you're in a part of the country where maybe you don't have a lot of access to regular instruction, it's so easy to get into a rut. And so again, we're here to help you out of that, and to give you the kind of support that we all deserve and that we all need in this journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add before we start taking questions.
Well, I just want to say, like, for me and my journey of riding, you know, I started riding in like the mid-90s, which is a really long time ago now. And I worked by myself for a long time. I really didn't have a regular trainer for a lot of those years. And so it was a lot of trial and error. And gosh, I would have loved to have a program like this where I could have asked questions and had somebody in my corner. That would have been really, really helpful for me in my process. And then I know for me, I was really burned out. Gosh, it was 5 years ago. 4 years ago. 5 years ago. I don't know. 2014. 5 years ago.
Math on the fly.
Yeah, math. We're horse trainers. Yeah. We're not IT or math people.
We just need to count to 4 in dressage, exactly. Right? 4 times people.
That's exactly all we need. So I was kind of, you know, I was really feeling burned out, and I took some time off when I was pregnant with our first daughter. And when I got back to riding, I really worked on my personal growth out of the saddle. And that was, for me, the biggest thing that has helped me in my riding over all these years has been that time working on my own personal development and just changing my perspective and seeing things in a different way and being more accepting of myself and loving with myself when I did go through challenges. And so I do think there's some value to bringing in these personal development concepts. So you work on yourself a little bit out of the saddle, and it definitely transfers to the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having more fun ever now riding.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I was saying when you were taking care of some of the technical difficulties, was bringing up Charles's quote that riding is a metaphor for life.
Totally.
And yeah, just how that it's like the personal development and the development in the saddle really go hand in hand, and there's a big connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jenna talked about her journey a little bit. I think for me, I had more help as I was developing as a rider, being a working student in a program. So I had more help there. But again, going off and as becoming a young trainer and a young professional, I think that was really tough, because you go from a real structured program to all of a sudden you're on your own, and you've got to run a business and figure out how to do that, and how to work with different clients and different horses. And you don't have that trainer that's in your ear constantly giving you advice. And so for me, when I look at this program, this program would have been so valuable, just to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and just get answers to so many questions that I had, and difficulties that I faced when I was first starting as a professional. So our goal is to, be able to take some of those difficulties that we had and help you avoid some of those pitfalls.
Yep.
So
for sure.
That's what we're here for, is to make your journey as smooth sailing as possible.
Well, and also to give you a community. So, with the group coaching, you get this private Facebook group. Yeah, so you'll have like all these cool people that are like right there with you, ready to support you. And because y'all, this sport's hard. Like it's like really hard. And just to have people that you can know are in the same boat you are is like so valuable. So that's I think a really important part of this process as well.
Yeah, exactly. To not have to go through some of the difficulties alone is so huge, and to be able to go on to Facebook and say, hey, I'm struggling with this right now, and to get a whole bunch of really sympathetic, good responses. Well, yeah. Yep. That's a huge deal.
Yep. So anyway, we'll open up to any questions you'll have. We had a couple of questions emailed to us, so we have some of those. But if y'all are watching live and you have any questions, just feel free to type them in, and we will answer them for you. Mm-hmm. And until then, we'll just start with what our emailed in questions.
Yeah, we got some emailed in questions. Okay, so here's a good one. Very, very common. What are some ways I can deal with my show nerves better? Well, so this is obviously a very, very common issue. And let me tell you something, that if somebody tells you that they don't get show nerves, then they're lying. I don't care, professional, amateur, young rider, everybody gets some butterflies in their stomach. And to me, it's all about making that a positive. So I think oftentimes what happens when riders say, oh, I've got show nerves, they're looking at that nervousness as a negative and as something that is in a way controlling them or setting the tone for them mentally and emotionally. So as I said, everybody gets nervous. I mean, it doesn't matter. I went to a schooling show 2 weeks ago, riding a training level test. And, how many training level tests have I done? But still, I got some butterflies in my stomach as I'm heading down the center line, or before I head down the center line in the warm-up ring. So what it is it's learning how to turn those butterflies and that nervousness into a positive energy, instead of a kind of more of a negative energy or panicky kind of energy. That can be really paralyzing when that energy gets the best of us and the anxiety gets the best of us. But if we can use it in a positive way, we can actually use it to create more focus and give us better performance. And sometimes you hear professional athletes, like basketball players, they'll say, they get into the zone when they get into like high stress, end of the game type of situations. And basically, I think in a way what they're talking about is they're using that nervousness to propel them to greater focus and greater performance.
And I think, everybody may feel this in a different way. Like I don't necessarily identify what I feel as nerves. Sometimes it is, but sometimes I do, I do feel different when I'm in a show environment, and it's almost like an intense focus.
Yeah.
But like, for example, I just had a horse show last weekend, and I rode right after lunch, and I really like to ride in the morning, so I don't have all day to dwell on, worrying about my ride and stuff. And, it was, it gave me a little bit too much time, but, it was also that feeling of like, okay, I'm anticipating this. I really want to do well. And how to change that into something that can be really positive. And for me, I think a lot of it comes down to like breathing.
Yeah.
I think, horses are so energy sensitive. And so if you get into that like shallow breathing, kind of almost panicky sort of state on your horse, if you're about to go in the show ring or you're about to go in the warm up or whatever, they feel that, and they definitely can get a little bit then on edge, and then it just sort of spirals from there. So I think even just starting with your breath and just getting into some rhythmic, slow breathing where you're really able to control your energy, I think is a really good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think the breathing is huge, and I think even if sometimes what I've done in the past is sometimes in the show ring, I'll kind of going in say to myself, okay, in every corner, I'm going to just think about my breathing a little bit. And so, and so that's if you can do that. And it doesn't have to be in the corner. It can be anywhere, every time I cross letter E and B or whatever. And that just kind of gets you to check back in to yourself. And it can be anything. I mean, it doesn't even have to be just breathing. I mean, it can be, I'm going to check back in with my posture or my leg position or whatever. And that just helps to keep you present, and then keep those, in a way, the anxiety, if you start to get that from kind of spiraling out of control and scrambling your brain. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. The breathing is really, really huge. And as Jenna said, the horses feel everything.
Yep. So
they're so energetically sensitive. And so it's important for us to be able to, as much as possible, moderate ours.
Well, and I think too, something you'll be able to work on in the program is, like, why is, really diving into the why. Like, why are you feeling these paralyzing show nerves? What is it about this experience that makes you so uncomfortable? I mean, I get it. It's like a huge, vulnerable
putting yourself out there.
Place to be, right? You've been working so hard at home, and all of a sudden you were there for all the world to see and to get judged, literally get judged on. So I think, we have some exercises in our program to dive in a little bit deeper to start to shift your perspective a little bit on that. And almost just take the pressure off in a way. You still want to stay focused, and it's still, you pay a lot of money for your riding, you spend a lot of time, blood, sweat, tears. So it is, you do take it seriously, but also to be able to step back and almost see the bigger picture and have a little more fun.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's such an important thing to remember. At the end of the day, we're there to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Certainly not to get rich, right? And doing dressage.
No.
So yeah.
But we get a pretty ribbon at the end of the day.
That's true. Yeah.
And if we're really lucky, a wine glass. So,
right.
That's okay.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's not too bad.
That's how we stock our wine glasses at home. They're all
exactly.
I
don't think we've ever had to buy one since we've been married.
Exactly.
Thank you, HDS. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right.
Just one last thing, and obviously there's a million different things we could talk about with the show nerves, but one last thing that I like to think of when I'm preparing for a show too is you can, in a way, I mean, you can't completely simulate it, but you can get on your horse one day and think, okay, today I'm going to ride my test. Today you can literally set a timer and say, okay, I think for this test, my horse is going to need this many minutes of warm up. So whatever, say it's 20 minutes. And set your watch for 20 minutes, do your warm up, and then go down the center line and ride your test. So as much as possible at home, where you're in a little more comfortable environment, you can try and simulate that show experience a little bit and kind of ramp up the intensity and the focus, so that you're in a way recreating that. And so when you get into the show environment, you can go back to that experience and that comfortable feeling there. So
great idea.
just one last thing I wanted to add on that.
Yeah, especially if test riding, I mean, that's a whole nother topic we could talk about. But, you know, test riding is something that really is an art form in itself.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get to a point in riding where you don't feel like you maybe need to ride tests all the time, but especially when you're just starting out showing, I think every week to be running through a test one time at least, wouldn't you think?
Oh, totally.
Just to really get the experience of how to ride your corners and how to ride really accurately. I think we can, we all are guilty of getting a little sloppy maybe when we're training at home and just riding a canter transition when it feels right. But then to be held a little more accountable to ride a transition at a letter, I think is really good practice.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that. Okay.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Another email. This is a good question. I like this one. Why should I do coaching, or why should I do coaching in addition to lessons? So I'm already taking lessons. You know, basically, isn't that good enough? Why should I add the coaching on top of that? I think a lot of reasons. I mean, we've already talked about some of them, but I think sitting down off of the horse is so valuable. We can dig in so much deeper. I think in the lesson, I mean, obviously riding lessons are great. We all need to be coached on the horse and have our regular lessons with our instructors. But you can really only dig so deep in those. You know, you have 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever. And so much of it is just the physical act of how to do this, how to do that, ride this movement, ride that movement. And I think that really is just touching the surface of what we need to learn as riders to be successful. And I think I can probably speak for both of us when I say that really the hardest thing for us in our journey of becoming good riders, it hasn't really been the physical aspect of riding. It's been more the mental side of it, the emotional side of it, and dealing with those things. And when you're just doing your normal riding lesson, you don't so much dive into that. I mean, maybe a little bit talking about some strategies, but off of the horse, I think we can dig in a lot deeper. Did you have anything? I have more.
Well, I think too, so like these coaching sessions, private coaching, for example, you can make it whatever you want. So if you're struggling with something really specific, like maybe fear of failure, and it's really holding you back, that's what we'll dive into. Or if it's show nerves, we'll dive into that. Or if it's something like where you want a little more analytical stuff of your ride, then you can video a ride or video a test of yours. If you're local, you can sit down with Martin and y'all can go through it, break it apart, where you can sit down and really, especially if you're a visual learner, that can be super, super helpful to just watch your ride and have Martin or me right there telling you, what we're seeing, how we can improve different things. I think that can be super valuable. And then in the coaching program, again, it can be whatever you want it to be, asking questions about technical stuff or emotional, mental stuff.
Right, exactly. And as we've discussed, like with the group coaching format, you're also going to have a really nice community to support you as well. So there's that in addition. So again, it's that feeling you're not going at it alone. So it really is. It's just being able to go a lot more in depth about the different challenges that we face every day in the saddle. Yeah, super question.
And another technical problem.
Marie wants to join our YouTube live. Hi, Marie. All right. So anyways, so that's coaching in addition to lessons. Let's see what else. Got some more here. Oh, this is more just kind of on the technical side of things about our program. The question is, do I have to sign a contract? And no, it's just really a month-to-month deal. We know that circumstances change in life and things like that, and so the how it works is just a month-to-month kind of payment deal. So
sorry,
that's okay.
Children problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
2 very little girls, so
Yeah.
it's late in the evening for them. So they're one of them starting to break down a little bit. So.
And they can open doors. At least the big one can.
One of them can.
But they can both walk and cry and scream.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyways, I love live video, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, looks like Laura asked the question, do clients who choose private coaching have access to the group as well, or do you have to pay separately for both?
Great question.
Yes, very good.
And yes, you have access to group coaching. If you're private, I believe it's up to 2 times a month. So if you work with Martin every other week, then you have full access to the group program as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So.
Yeah, very good question.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really, our goal here is to be as inclusive as possible, and again, give everybody as much support as we can. So that's what we're all about here. Yep, great question. Thank you, Laura. All right, we will head back to the email questions. All right, here's another good one. Oh, this one's asking, okay, how can I overcome some fear that I have in my riding? And again, okay, another technical difficulty. How do I overcome fear that I have? We're in the middle here until she comes back. My self-centered. So fear is a huge one, and again, believe it or not, professionals, just like amateur riders, we all have fear at some point. Again, I would say that anybody that said they were never afraid at some point on a horse is probably lying to you. We all at some point have fear, right? We've all been tossed off a horse, bucked off a horse, had a horse bolt with us, scary things. And whenever that happens, it's totally natural to have your confidence shaken, right? Our self-protection kind of kicks in, right? And so it's natural for our mind to get into this survival mode. And when we feel like we're really vulnerable, that's totally natural for the fear to kick in. There's different strategies. First thing is I love lunging. When I was younger, I remember I had a 4-year-old thoroughbred when I was younger, and I always used to love getting on him in the group lessons, not lunging him or anything, and he'd go around the arena kind of bucking, and it was my chance to show off, a little bit, be the center of attention. But now a horse starts bucking with me, and I'm really quick to jump off it and lunge it. So I've become a big fan of lunging. And for me, what I like about lunging is if the horse has some bucks or things that it needs to get out, let's have them get that out while we're not on their back. Second, it really allows us to take stock of the horse mentally. So if you lunge the horse and you really pay attention to their body language, you pay attention to their posture, right? Are they stretching, or they're throwing their head straight up in the air and galloping on the lunge line? You're going to be able to tell if your horse is starting to relax in and to be in a good place to start working. So for me, the lunging is as much a mental exercise as it is a physical exercise. So I'm a huge fan of lunging. Again, I think coming back to the breathing is huge. So when we start to get fear, a lot of times our breathing gets short and rapid, and the tight chest and the dry mouth and all that. So going back to the breathing. Also off the horse, just doing really positive visualization. So just visualizing a really, really successful, calm, relaxed, confident ride can be huge as well. And then lastly, if it makes you feel better to have, if we're talking about an amateur rider, just have your trainer get on your horse for a while first. And that way the trainer can get on and assess it and say, okay, yeah, the horse feels fine, get on, or no, there's something here in his back or whatever, or his brain. I'm going to ride it out until he feels good. So those are just a few things as far as fear goes. But like I said, the biggest thing with fear is, as I said, everybody gets it at some point, and to be really kind and patient with yourself, because it's a natural instinct, and at some point we almost all get spooked at one point or another. So to be kind, to be patient, and the more positive experiences you have, the more that fear starts to subside. And I know this from experience at a horse in the barn that came as a 3-year-old, and pretty soon after he arrived, I got tossed off of him, and I was definitely afraid to get on him. But again, went through, did a lot of lunging with him before I'd get on him, make sure his body and his brain were in a good place. And the more good rides that I had, the more that fear went away. And finally, after a while, it was easy for me just to hop on the horse and taking the shows and everything else. So the more positive experiences you have, the more that fear starts to subside. But it's a big issue, and it's something that I think we all at some point go through. But be kind, be patient with yourself when you do have those issues, because it's real easy to start to beat ourselves up. And I know I've been there, like, come on, you're a professional, like, just suck it up and do it. But it's totally natural, and this is a natural reaction to a scary situation.
Yeah, it's primal, right? I mean, it's fear of your safety. It's such a primal thing.
Self-preservation. That was what I was looking for. Said self-protection. I couldn't think of the word. So self-preservation. Right. And of course, I think as you get older, that gets stronger. And I was saying that when I was young and I had my 4-year-old thoroughbred, I was always happy. I was so excited to get on in a group lesson and have him go like bucking around the arena so I could show off.
Yeah, I would ride anything. Yeah. I would get on all the babies for the other trainers in the barn to start. I would ride every pony that came in from the auction, thoroughbreds, off the track, whatever. I would ride anything. And now I'm not so brave at all.
So I guess the other piece of advice is to find yourself a time machine and just go back to when you were younger. So that's what we need to do.
Although there's a fine line between brave and stupid.
No, well, and that's the thing about fear, is that sometimes it's, you have that little thing in the back of your mind saying danger, danger. And sometimes it's, everything's cool and everything's fine, but a lot of times our gut instinct is pretty good. Yeah. And it doesn't mean like, oh, just because you're having fear, like, oh, my horse is, I need to never ride my horse again or anything like that. It just means that, take some of these safety measures and lunge your horse, have the trainer get on, whatever. Because, nothing is more important when you're riding than your safety. Nothing's more important than your health. And so you're always better off to lunge your horse for 5 minutes and not need it than not lunge your horse and need it.
Yeah. And I think listening to your gut too.
Exactly.
Because we've both had experiences where we've had some horses that, we pushed through it and it maybe wasn't the best thing to do. So I think it's just taking each individual case as its own case, really look at every piece of it to be able to, go from there.
Well, and I think too, it's good to get other outside input.
For sure.
And that's where we can help,
without emotion, someone that's not emotionally involved in the situation.
Exactly. They can look at it, just really say, either like, no, I think it'll be okay, massaging the situation, or, this isn't, such a good situation. Yeah. So I think getting some outside, non-emotional input, non-biased input is really, really important. Yeah. Okay. Very good question. Let's see. Okay. All right. Another one here.
Hi, Melanie.
Hello, Melanie, or Auntie M, as you're called by the littles. Let's see. Okay, another very common issue. What do I do to combat frustration while riding?
Ooh, I know this one. I'm very familiar with this one.
No, me too. I think. Anybody that's trained a horse, tried to accomplish anything with a horse, is at some point going to come across frustration, right? They're, 1,000, 1,500 pound animals that have their own will and their own thoughts about things and their own emotions, and they have good and bad days like we do.
Absolutely.
So, and when you're on this training journey, like with a single horse where it's over years and years, you're definitely going to come across some sometimes where there's going to be some frustrations. So, again, there's many, many different things that we can do when we talk about frustration. I think one of the biggest things is, if you feel like you're going into a little bit of a tizzy, honestly, is just to stop whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Tizzy. I like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a cute word. Sorry.
It's an epic meltdown.
Tizzy may be better.
I was trying to use a cuter word then. So anyways, yeah, so if you're going into your tizzy, and yeah, I think one really good piece of advice is just to literally just take a walk break. Like just take a walk, let the reins out, and you know, just kind of let yourself regroup. I think oftentimes the harder we press at something, the more backwards it goes.
Totally. I can think of a really specific example to this. So my first horse I ever started under saddle, Warren Dorf. He was the first horse I ever taught changes to, and unbeknownst to me, I very much taught him a late change, right to left. And it took me some time.
You needed the coaching.
I needed the coaching. I really did. I didn't have it. And so I didn't know what to do with it once I finally became aware that this was actually a problem, and that it was very much ingrained in his little half quarter horse, half warm blood mind. It's mostly that quarter horse that got really fixated on this is how we do things, that it was really tough. And so I would have training sessions where I'm like, we're fixing this right now. And we would drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it over and over and over again. And it never led to anything but my frustration, my horse's frustration. So I love the idea of just taking a walk break and just regrouping. I think also getting out of the arena sometimes.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, changing your venue in a way.
Yeah, just on that topic, again, Warren. Warren. When last year when I was going for my gold medal, of course, it was a big task and a great challenge for both of us. And I actually got to the point where I started to do most of my training at home, out in our front field, because a lot of times, being in that arena all the time is for both horse and rider, it's just nice to get out. And even though I was literally doing the exact same stuff out in the field in the grass that I was doing in the sandbox, we were both so much happier. I could feel exactly. I mean, he was so much, happier to work, and it was just so much less stressful. And of course, I'd have to bring him back into the arena, once or twice a week and work on my accuracy and that kind of stuff. But I think that was really a huge turning point in our journey last year in the Grand Prix, was just getting them the heck out of the arena.
Totally.
So for both of us, both the horse and the rider frustration.
I think too, I would really encourage people to think outside the box, which can be really, really hard to do, especially as dressage riders when we are really focused on our arena and our letters, and we're very precise, to think a little bit outside the box. For example, we had a young horse. He's not so young now, but he had a lot of trouble picking up one of his leads as a young horse. And so we introduced a Cavaletti, and that's how he
got him started.
Figured out how to pick up that lead, and just throwing in maybe some jumps or some little different pole patterns, or just going out on trails. I mean, and that's where I think something we can really help with when it comes to really areas where you're really stuck in, because we've experienced so many different problems.
We've been there.
We've totally been there.
If you're stuck on something, we've also been stuck on that something.
Yeah, we have.
Let me guarantee you.
And so we can help you and think about okay, how can we, maybe totally rethink about how this problem is happening. And we can also help you look at it from all angles, right? So from an alignment angle, from a contact angle, from an impulsion angle, and find out really the root cause of the problem. And that's where you can start to figure out how to fix it going forward.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, that it's so often it's about just breaking it down. So, for example, getting back to a specific movement, flying change, right? So you could sit there and you could, beat yourself over the head with doing millions of flying changes. But if the flying change isn't working, chances are, there's something in the canter quality, or there's something in the horse's reaction to your aids.
Right.
So then you go back and you work on the simple changes, canter, walk, canter, or even trot, canter, trot, or you just do exercises for straightness if there's a crookedness issue.
Right.
So oftentimes I think the frustration happens because we're trying to do a certain movement when the building blocks haven't been firmly established enough. And so I think whenever you start to hit that rut, you just ask yourself, you just look at the building blocks of the movement. So the example I use, the flying change, is the straightness there? Is the horse collected? Is the horse reactive to my aids? And chances are, if they're struggling with the changes for some reason, one of those aspects is not going to be there. And so then you can go back and make your flying changes way better without even doing a single flying change. So I think that's one of the biggest things. But like Jenna said, that's really hard to do. When you're in that moment and you've got this today, one of my goals was to do a good right to left flying change, and it's not happening. It's really hard to say, you know what, I'm going to table that for today and go do more, simple changes. And do that for a week.
Or just really simple transitions. And yeah, for sure.
And that's where, having an outside source, somebody like us to be able to break that down and help you with those strategies. Yeah, so you don't get stuck in those ruts. Yeah, because that is so easy to get into. So what else? Anything else with the frustration aspect?
Well, I think too, I know something that a lot of amateur riders can get frustrated with is balance, finding balance between your kids and your work and your family and your obligations and your grocery shopping and everything else.
Yeah, this is a good one for.
And I totally get this now.
I'll just step aside and just let Jenna take the.
Yeah, like I was a 100% full-time professional since, like I said, I think 2008. I guess maybe 2007, actually. I don't know, one of those. A long time. And then
doesn't mean we have 26 years of combined experience.
Maybe so.
Just getting more experience as the night goes on.
And so I had my first daughter in 2015, and I had my second daughter in 2018, just over a year ago. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now. I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, both girls and very strong-willed. And they're fabulous, but it does make it challenging. And sometimes they don't always get in the rides that I want to get in. And I'm still struggling a little bit with, with body image. And, I still haven't got back to my pre-pregnancy weight after my second. I think it's so much about being really loving with yourself and really accepting of yourself, what she's doing. But, it's just really at the end of the day, being so kind with yourself. If you can get in one ride, then that's great. And if you can get in, 5 rides a day or whatever, then awesome. But, not to beat yourself up. At the end of the day, the horses, they're such great teachers and they're so kind, and they'll be there for you. So if I think I hear a lot like that people don't want their horses to be that they don't want to ruin their horses, that they don't want to have their horses' talent wasted because they can only ride 3 times a week or whatever the case may be. And I think it's that problem kind of is sad in a way to me, because I understand it, but at the end of the day, the horse doesn't care. They don't care. No. They just want
they want their basic needs met.
They want their basic needs met, and when you ride them, they want you to be kind, and they don't want to experience fear or anything like that. But I think it's just doing what you can, and if just being kind with yourself. That's what I'm going to keep circling back to.
Yeah.
Self-kindness,
that's
self-acceptance.
Kind of the key to everything, honestly, with this, But no, like Jenna said, I think in any given moment, just doing the best that you can with the situation. And yeah, maybe it's frustrating because you can only get in 1 or 2 rides during a certain week. But if that's what life dictates, then that's what life dictates for that moment in time.
But I think we come to horses and we come to riding because our soul needs it. I think it's something that we need for our spirit. So stick with it, and if you can only go out and you only have 20 minutes to groom your horse, go do that. Go groom your horse, and just experience being with them. So
yeah, it's kind of our creative expression.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it can also be our therapy. I know. Gosh, I don't know how many times I've taught, a lesson in the evening from somebody that's come from work and they've had kind of a rough, stressful day. And it's like, you can just kind of see it melt off of them. you know, I can tell when they walk in the barn that they've
Yeah.
had a bit of a rough day at work or with family or whatever it is. But you know, when they're in the saddle or grooming their horse, you can just see the stress start to melt away.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, you know, that's like you said. I mean,
what
that's
it's
kind of
about.
what we're here for. And
Yeah.
even as professionals, it's important to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good message to tell ourselves too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These wonderful creatures that are so, you know, generous. All right. Anything else in frustration? That's probably something we could talk about for about 4 hours.
Yeah, that's we could do a whole month
sure.
long
Y'all want
program
to
just
go to
based
bed
on
eventually.
that.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll move on.
Exactly. But
we're about out of time. So
we are, huh?
yeah. I think we got to most of the questions.
Pretty much everything. Oh, there's just one more about
One more.
like organizing my rides.
Oh, okay.
And that's
a good
one. Yeah, I've had that, especially where with our program we have some riders that do quite a few lessons each week.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll get that question or that complaint, you know, about themselves, like, oh, you know,
What do
when
I
I'm
do?
riding
when I'm
by
on my
myself.
own?
Exactly. So I think for you and I, it's like because we're mostly riding on our own.
Right.
That's not even something I don't think that we think about all that much. But I think, you know, organizing the rides, the first thing is I think you can think about where you're at. Well, sometimes what I'll do is if I'm a little bit in a way stuck with a horse, like, well, what do I do now with this horse? I'll just look at the test. So for example, like if I'm, you know, riding a horse that's like first level, I'll look in the tests and I'll say, okay, well, this level has leg yields, this has canter, trot, canter transitions, this has 15-meter circles. So in a way, you can use dressage tests as a little bit of a guideline on where to go with the training. You know, I mean, it's very logical how the tests move up the levels. So I think that's a really good resource that you can use as far as organizing
I think
yourself.
too, and this may be a little bit hard. Maybe you may need a little bit more professional guidance in this, but just being able to take any problem that you have and break it down to its core element, like break it down to the element of the training scale that is causing the problem. I know for me, that's what I really need to do. Like when I'm going through my, with my horses and their training is, okay, you know, I'm struggling with the canter pirouette. Why am I struggling with the canter pirouette? Well, it's going to be related to one of those core components of the training scale, you know, impulsion or alignment usually.
Right.
And then being able to then kind of dig into your toolbox and come up with different strategies to overcome those problems. Yeah. And that's where we can help with our video. So when you send in your 5-minute video and you're really struggling with a leg yield, you know, you send in a video of you riding different leg yields and we can tell you exactly what we're seeing, what we think the problem is, how to correct it. And also like in your position, you know, if you're riding in alignment, because that's such a huge part of it as well, as making sure that the rider is in the correct position and correct posture. Yeah,
rider has to be organized.
Yep.
As well as the horse, as well as their lesson plan.
Yep.
I think just one last thing on that, since it sounds like we're running short on time, as far as organizing the rides, is you can even before a ride, you can just literally write out in a journal or something what you want to do that day, and it can just be 3 or 4 different things. But at least that way you're organizing your thoughts a little bit before you get on the horse, so you don't just kind of start traveling around a little bit mindlessly. So
I love that. I'm glad you touched on that. I'm a huge fan of a riding journal. Yeah. I don't necessarily keep one every ride, but I do keep them, I would say like once a month, or especially when I go through like a big breakthrough. I like to write it down. And I think it's good to just be able to reference back, especially when you're in those times of frustration, to be able to say, oh, wow, like 6 months ago, I was struggling with this. And now that's not even an issue anymore.
Look how far we've come.
And now we're on to a whole different set of problems. Exactly. So, but I think I love keeping a writing journal. I think that's awesome. Advice for anybody that's, you know, really serious about their riding.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be long, you know, just a couple sentences on things. But sometimes too, I think like writing it out, you start to process things a little
Right.
bit. And, you know, I think sometimes you can actually solve some of your own problems just by writing through it on paper.
Kind of gets the gears starting
Yeah.
to turn up there. So
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. And then just one last thing I want to say about organizing your ride is it's good to be organized going into your ride, but also just remember that you have to be flexible in your ride
Yeah, for sure.
as well. And some
Because
days,
they're horses.
yeah. So I mean, and you know, if you're riding an FEI horse or whatever, and it's like, oh, I have all these big plans to work on these, you know, upper level movements, but you may get on and the horse just needs super basic suppling work because they've been in their stall for 3 days straight and you couldn't get out to ride them because of work. So that's the only other thing I wanted to say about organizing.
I think
the
that's
rides
huge.
is, yeah, to you know have a plan, but don't have a plan, but don't be fixated on the plan.
Yeah,
be flexible enough that you can call an audible.
It's a good metaphor for life.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. Again, yep, comes full circle.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess we're about out of time, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for those of you that emailed in questions. Really appreciate it. And
I'll just say too, real quick before we finish, you know, I can't remember the exact quote, but Charles Leconfi, who you will hear we reference quite a bit, he has a quote in his book Ethics and Passions about, you know, the truly great rider is balanced between the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Yeah.
And so this is what we want to help accomplish through this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So. And yeah, as was mentioned earlier, it's like a lot of times just in your normal riding lessons, most of that is in the body realm, the physical realm. So we certainly want to explore that realm in the coaching session. So this isn't just talking about the mental side or the emotional side. I don't want everybody to think that.
All encompassing.
Exactly. It's all encompassing. It's all a big part of it. And the body is part of that. So yeah, mind, body, and spirit. That's perfect. Yeah, very, very good. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate that you took time out of your busy evening to join us and send us your questions. And, you know, we hope you got some good information tonight. I know Jenna and I enjoyed ourselves. As Jenna said, it's our first time going through the YouTube Live, so we'll keep cleaning up the little.
Yeah, we'll work the kinks out.
Yeah, we'll polish it up a little bit as we go along. But actually, I think all in all, you know, we didn't have all the lights go out.
Yeah,
or
that's true.
The computer set on fire.
Well, we'll find out when we close this if it even aired. So
that's true.
Then we'll know. It says live, so
yeah.
I feel positive about it.
Yeah, did all right. And our chairs stayed intact. The chairs didn't break or anything. So
and only a couple minor.
Yeah, just a couple. So. You know, yeah, kids.
Anyway,
little kids. So.
Thanks for coming in, everybody.
Thank you so much. And of course, you can email us at equestrianperformancecoaching@gmail.com if you have further questions or questions about our programs or you want to sign up for one of our programs. And then also, of course, you can get more information at our website, equestrianperformancecoaching.com.
And we'll keep putting new little short videos up on this YouTube channel. So you can watch for those.
We have our Facebook page too.
Oh, and the Facebook page.
Sorry.
Yeah, videos on there as well. So you can also find us on Facebook at Equestrian Performance Coaching. And we're going to start to flood it with content. So we're really excited to today was kind of our inaugural day to really get this rolling. So
yeah, getting the ball rolling.
Yeah. So thanks for joining in, everybody.
So, yeah, thank you for joining us. And our little motto with Equestrian Performance Coaching is to step into your brilliance. So hope you all have a great rest of your week and definitely do step into your brilliance.
Bye.
Bye.